stay in your lane. We are not the same. We cannot explain things about to change. Cause we run the game. Cause we run the game.
Going live. Howdy doody, guys. Welcome to the first ever Make It Monday with me, your host, Brandon Groce, and our amazing guest, Ryan Schaefer. We're super excited to be finally bringing this to you guys because it's been a really long couple of months since we've been able to do like tutorials, live streams, and really just like learning in the Wix platform. We've been kind of waiting till Wix Studio kind of was out for everybody, which is today, by the way. So if you haven't gotten your hands on that, definitely go to wixstudio.com. Grab yourself a nice free, not download, it's all in the cloud, so check it out. But without any further ado, I know some of you guys are here live watching. A lot of you guys are around the world kind of either sleeping or just getting up, so I know you guys are going to watch this later. But I want to give you guys a little bit of what Make It Monday is. I want also Ryan to introduce himself, although he might not need that big of an introduction because he's one of the largest Wix video platforms on YouTube when it comes to learning everything about Wix, Editor X, Wix Studio, all that stuff. So he's really the mastermind, and you probably already knew him before you came here. So with that being said, Make It Monday is where you are going to come every Monday at 1 p.m. EST to learn all the awesomeness you can about Wix Studio. And I'm not going to steal any more thunder from Ryan, but what we're going to have Ryan share is a little bit about himself and what we're going to do today. And last thing for me is every Monday at 1 p.m. EST, this is not just a live session where you guys are watching us build something amazing from, or rather Ryan. I'm just here for a pretty face and to help escort questions to his ears. But Ryan's going to be building some really cool things, but also we have given you guys some amazing assets to follow along with us in the description down below. So if you guys want to follow along or even later want to kind of dive into, all right, how is this stuff being built? There's assets in the description. You guys can download it from our Discord and follow along either live with us or as during the recording or the re-recording, watching the re-recording of this, guys. Listen, I've had a lot of coffee. My tongue is twisted. All right, without further ado, Ryan, tell us a little bit about yourself and what we're doing today.
Hello, I'm Ryan. I run a YouTube channel called Wix Fix where I teach Wix and Wix Studio. And in today's video, we're going to be creating like a career web page that has some really cool creative scroll effects, kind of similar to like what Apple uses on their career page.
That sounds absolutely wonderful. Now, guys, if you have any questions about what Ryan is going to go over, what we're touching on in the moment, feel free to use the chat to either one, say hi to us, let us know where you're coming in from, but also feel free to ask your questions as we're going along with this thing. So, all right, Ryan, I'm going to jump to our screens and what are we looking at? What are we going to attack today?
Okay, so here is going to be our design that we're going to be building today. And as I scroll down, you're going to notice some pretty cool effects, and all of this can be done inside of Wix Studio. So yeah, we're just going to be kind of building this out in Wix Studio today. And again, like Brandon already said, we do have the assets that you guys can download and follow along if you want to.
Awesome. All right, so how do we start with this? Like that seems pretty complex, but where do we start?
I promise you it's actually not too bad. So here in Wix Studio, I'm going to just go ahead and remove like the header and footer because we're not really going to be focusing too much on that today. And we can go ahead and start building the website. I feel like if we build these sections first and then add the effects later, that might be our easiest way to go. So for this first section, I'm going to go ahead and turn on advanced sizing because I want this section to take up 100 VH, which VH is viewport height. And viewport height is basically a percentage of your user's screen size. So if we're taking up a percentage of their height, I want this first section to take up 100% of it. So we can come over to size, press this 3 dots and turn this little toggle on for advanced sizing. If you've used Editor X before, this is probably something you're familiar with already, but we're going to go ahead and press minimum height and we're going to set this to 100 VH. And it's not really going to change right now, but if we add another section, you'll notice that this section now changes the height And this is what we kind of want right here. And what we're going to do is add a couple images and a text element. So I've already uploaded my images here. So I'm going to grab the hero image and just drag this out onto the page. And we'll stretch it. And then, actually, I did kind of mess up a little bit, but that's okay. I'll kind of address that in a second as I add the next element here. What we're going to want to do is...
There's no such thing as mess ups, man. We're here, we're flowing, we're going, we're showing the process.
Exactly. But we're going to go ahead and add the overlay. It's called Overlay if you download the assets. And for this, I want it to be, since we're on the 1280 editing size here, what we're going to want to do is set the width of this vector element to 1280. And I set the height to 720. So that's going to make it like the perfect size for this element here. And the reason I said I messed up earlier is because I actually want this section to be the same height as this element. So we could actually just undo what I did and set this to 720 height, just like this. And then we can grab this element here and make sure that there are no margins, just like that. And the last thing we need here is just a simple text element. So we can come over to add text, and we can just grab a heading 1. And we'll type in careers, make this text white, and we'll center it. For the sizing of this element, we can leave it at 72. I think that's a good size. And then we'll also set the responsive behavior to hug. And then we'll just center it using these align tools at the top. So our first section is already basically complete. And we can go ahead and move on to the next section here. For this next section, it's just going to be the mission statement. If we refer back to this one right here, it's just going to be a big text on the left that says our mission, and then just a little simple paragraph text element. So for this, the simplest way to do it is just add cells, which this is new to Wix Studio. So if we just click that, it's very similar to the grid system in Editor X if you've used that. But I will say it's a little bit more simplified. And I actually do prefer containers still, but I feel like that might just be because I'm so used to Editor X.
This is public. This is public.
No, I mean, cells are actually really good. But I feel like for me, as someone that's so used to Editor X still, I'm just so used to how those work. But I do think cells is like a fantastic addition. But for this section, I do want to slightly add a little bit of margin or padding to the left side. So we'll come down to padding and we'll set this to 5% just to add a little bit of space here. And then in this left column here, let's add a heading 2. And we will set this to, what was it? Our mission. And then let's go ahead and raise the size up to like 64, just so it's a little bit bigger. Once again, we'll come over to responsive behavior and set this to hug. And we'll center it as well. Okay. Then with the cells, and this is one reason I do like them, is we can literally just move it over just a little bit, just so we can easily set the widths of our cells. So now we have more room for the paragraph.
Ryan, before we go any further, we had a really good question from Nina, and I'm sure this will help other people who are rewatching this. The question was, why did you use an overlay versus making the image with rounded corners in your container?
Oh, for sure.
Basically an optimization question.
That's actually a really good question, and I wanted to create this effect right here. We can kind of create this effect. However, the image would get smaller, and I wanted the image to stay in place, but then have the overlay kind of take it over a little bit, if that makes sense. So you can kind of see like the image isn't getting smaller. Yeah, it's kind of masking the image. And I think it just adds a really cool effect. Whereas if we did it the other way around, it would kind of look like this one down here, where it just kind of shrinks or gets bigger, if that makes sense. So I did use this effect down here for this image, but up here I wanted to have a masking effect. So that's why I did use the overlay for this one.
Really good question, Nina, and thank you for taking a quick pause and going back to that. I actually didn't catch that. I thought it in my mind, and I was like, huh. Yeah. All right.
And then where was I? Oh yeah. So then we're gonna add a paragraph to this right-hand side. I like to make the paragraph text a little bit lighter, so I opted to go for this lighter gray color here. And we'll also just bump up the size quite a bit. Expand it a little bit more. And then we can center it. Now for this, our missions, like little text here, I did have an underline right here. So I actually found that inside the decorative area here in the add panel. I just went to more basic shapes. I think I went to vector art and I typed in brush. And I think it's like one of the first options here. There it is right here, brush line. And then let's go ahead and resize it. And we'll just place it
really cool.
right underneath. Yeah,
I didn't even know that you. Yeah, I thought that was maybe an asset that you had actually produced.
No, I'm actually like, I really like some of the assets that are just built into Wix, and they're really customizable as well. So it just kind of works out.
See, hacks, guys. I was just saying hacks, guys. I would have been like, all right, now all you got to do is you got to get your camera, you got to get some paint, you got to slab the paint onto, or buy some assets. I don't know, but that's really cool to know that Wix has some nice versatile assets. This is why we have the master at work here, not me. Okay. Anyways, continue.
So for this section, I think it was about 275 in height. I think that's what it was. And we need to move this up a little bit more. And actually, let's just undock it completely and move it up. Perfect. Okay. And if you wanted to, I think you can put these in a container as well. There we go. I think that looks a little bit better. So I just shift clicked and grabbed both of these, pressed the more actions, and then there was a place in container option. And that should make it a little bit easier for you to like manage those as kind of a group.
Nice.
For the next section, it's going to be very similar to this one up here, but we're going to have a different scroll effect applied to it. So once again, let's go ahead and set this to 720 pixels. Let's add a background image. So we'll once again go to our media. We'll grab this one, pull it out, and expand it. And then we can just easily grab this vector art from up here, copy it, and then we're just going to paste it down below. And then using the align tools, we'll center it and send it to the top. Now for this section, we do have a little like text element here. So what we're going to do is add like a heading 6 here. We'll change the text to hiring the extraordinary. And then underneath that, we will add a paragraph.
And I have to say, while you're doing all this, I really like how you've not even like pulled out or right-clicked and done like a heading or a paragraph. You're literally just going into the add elements, and you're literally just dragging heading, H2, H3, H6.
Right. Yeah.
It's
that
really
is
nice
another way to
workflow.
do it. You can press right-click and then add, but I do find it just easier for me to like go up to the top.
Yeah. I'd never thought about it like that. I didn't even know you could actually drag it, to be honest with you.
Oh, really?
I've always done the what's-it-called? I've always done the right click, add heading, and then go into the inspector and change the settings from there.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so what you're doing is way more powerful and much better shortcut.
Well, thank you. All right, so what I did was I added the paragraph and I added a button. I used our main color, which should be included in the color sheet in the assets. It's also roughly the same color as this one, but I think this one's actually a little bit different, so we can change that to match it. And then for this heading text here, let's set the responsive behavior to hug. Then we're going to grab these 3 elements using the shift key, and we'll stack them together. Now that this is a stack, it's technically its own element. So with its own element, we're going to give it a background color. And we're going to come into padding. And I think I chose 5%. Yeah, I think 5% is good. And then we can apply this 5% to all sides, just like that. And then for corners, we'll go ahead and round the edges. Where'd it go? There it is. I think I did either 24 or 12 here. Let's see, 12. Perfect. I think that's good. And we'll just kind of place it right about here. Let's see what 24 rounded edge looks like. Okay, I think that looks a little bit better. And then let's undock it from the top and we'll dock it to the bottom. I think that looks pretty good. Right about there. Great. Let me do something real quick.
A quick second, Ryan. I know this is basic, but could you explain very quickly, like, this hugging thing? I like hugs, but in the context of Wix Studio, we have a couple things in contrast to where we were with EditorX. We now have like hugging. We have like the stay away. Like, can we very quick? There's not a stay away setting, guys. But what are those different settings? If you could somehow distill.
So for this heading, when I say for this heading text element, right now it's set to scale, or the responsive behavior set to scale proportionately. So all that means is that when I resize the screen, it gets smaller. When I make it bigger, the text gets bigger. But there are other responsive behaviors, and what I've been using is hug. And basically what that's going to do is it's going to make the element width the same size of whatever content is inside of it. So you'll notice if I go back to its original to scale proportionately, we have all of this extra space here that we don't need, and it's just kind of taking up space. So when I had this here, when I had scale proportionally on this element, like this element was like out here, and it would have made it look a little bit uglier. So when I set this to hug, it kind of shortens the content to its, or shortens the bounding box to the content itself, basically. So I'll just go ahead and undo that real quick. There we go. As for fixed, it basically removes the responsive behavior of the bounding box. I believe since we still have, oh no, it doesn't. So when we apply fixed to a text element, it removes the font scaling. So no matter what size of screen we are on, that font stays the same. And then for wrap, I actually haven't played around with this too much, but it seems like the font size stays the same, but depending on the screen size that we are on, the text just wraps itself. So if I make this like here and I resize the screen, you can see it starting to wrap itself. There we go. But yeah, that one I don't really use all that often, to be honest with you. I typically use scale or hug.
Got you. Scale or hug, guys.
For text. At least for text.
Awesome.
Great. So we're done with this section. The next section we're going to do is just going to be kind of like 3 list items for like perks of being an employee at this company. And to do this, we're just going to use a simple repeater. So we'll come over to quick add, we'll grab a repeater, and let's just go ahead and stretch this. So now we have a repeater taking up the full screen, but we can easily come down to margins. And I think if we do 7.5 on the left and the right, I think that's what we want. And then for the top and bottom, just so we have a little bit more space to play with, or I guess space in between sections, we will add 5% margin. So now we should have something that looks like this. With this repeater, let's go ahead and add like maybe 60 pixels of space in between the items for the grid gap, just like that. And then for the item itself, we can go ahead and start editing the design. I want the background color to be white. It'll match the background. For the border, let's set it to 1 pixel, and we can even just do like 10% on the black color, and it makes it like this nice light gray. For the corners, let's make this 24. So now we have these items that have like this really nice rounded edge corner on it, and it looks pretty clean. And now it's just time to start adding content inside of it. Now, a lot of this content, or a lot of like these 3 bullet points I kind of took from Apple's website as inspiration. But what we're going to do is add an icon at the top. Now for icons, I do typically set these to fixed positions. I don't like them getting too small, and I also don't want them getting too big. I like to kind of control that on each breakpoint. So for desktop, I might set this to 64 for the width. And I'll also do that for the height as well. So it's about this big. And we can go ahead and change out these other 3 icons really quickly. So for the second one, it's going to be the globe, or the earth, I think is what I called it. And then for this last one, we'll do the graduate SVG file. And inside of this, I'm just going to copy this text element here, this heading. We will paste it inside of this and place it right underneath this text element. Give it a little bit of space, and then we can just change the text out real quick. So for this one, it was diverse and inclusion. For this one, it was environmental sustainability. Now, I'm not really going to worry too much on spelling right now.
We never get. Hey, listen, AI is coming to save our tails very quickly. Actually, you know, that's something we can probably talk about, or we don't have to jump into later because it's going to create a rabbit hole. But I know that Wix has integrated AI in some actually pretty large capacities. But
Right.
and I think also it does do copy as well, but we can talk about that later. But you know, as you were saying, spelling no longer is an issue. Trust me, I use ChatGPT probably for most emails nowadays, and the fact that you can talk to it, I'm just like, hey, can you please, like, I need something written to go to this person that tells them X, Y, and Z. Please send. Thanks.
Yes. I love AI. It's super helpful.
Makes us all look real smart nowadays.
So for this text, I did center it. And then we will make it a little bit bigger. Like maybe we'll choose like 32. Maybe that's a little too big. Let's 28, I guess. I think that's fine. And then I'm just going to copy this text element or paragraph, and we'll paste it in here as well. For this paragraph in particular, I do want it to be a little bit smaller. So instead of 18, let's do 13. Center it, and we'll make it this gray color. We'll kind of position it underneath this text. We'll center it. And then let's go ahead and use our shift key. We'll grab all 3 of these elements here, and we'll stack them together. And let's go ahead and look at the margin here. We see we have 12 margin. So let's just go ahead and add that to the bottom as well, 12.1%. And now we can grab the section. We can remove the height. And now our items have basically shrunk to the size of the stack plus the top and bottom margin that we applied to it. So it looks pretty clean.
Very nice. See, smooth and but like we're only 26 minutes in and you're flying. How many more sections are there? Like 2? 1?
There is 3 more sections, but then we still have to apply the effects. No, you're good. You're good. But we still have to apply the effects and everything. So we have. I want to make sure we have time for that. But for this next section, it's just going to be like a simple scroll. So what I want to do is make this section really large. So we're going to set this to like 2000 pixels. Inside of this, I want to add a container. So let's go to quick add, grab a container. And for this container, I do want to turn on advanced sizing. So we'll do it for this one. So we'll press 3 dots, toggle this on. For the width, we want this to be 100% width. And then this one, we want to be 100 VH. Kind of what I explained in the beginning. So if you missed the beginning, VH stands for viewport height, and viewport is a percentage of your user's screen. So we want to take up 100% of the height on whatever screen our users are viewing our website on. So we set this to 100 VH, and we're just going to center it and send it to the top. For the background color, I kind of just want to set it to like this dark green. And then inside of this, we're going to come down to, I think it's media video box, and we'll just add a video box here. And with this video box, we can stretch it, and let's change the video. And I think I chose an office one here. Let's see, I think I chose this one right here in our live example. So this one is called Open Workspace. And then if we go into the behaviors settings here, we want it to automatically play. We don't want it to be paused, and we want it to loop, and just make sure there's no sound as well. Now for this, I do want to come down to opacity, and I don't remember quite what I set, but let's check 20. I think 20 is what I set. Perfect. So this is just going to allow the green part of the container from the background to show. And I think it looks pretty clean like that. And then what we need to do now is actually grab, let's just go ahead and grab this stack here. We're going to copy this, and we're going to paste it down here. Now for this stack, I don't want there to be a background color, so we can just remove that. I also want this text to say, join the team. And I want to be quite a bit bigger. So let's do like, do what 42 looks like. I think that looks pretty good. Maybe we can add a little bit more space here. Maybe we'll do like 18 pixels. I think that looks pretty clean. And then we're going to grab both of these text elements, and we'll set this to white. The reason is we are going to have this text scroll over this section. We can go ahead and do that part right now because it might be easier just to show you what it's going to look like. So if we grab this container, so we select the image and use the breadcrumbs to select the container, what we're going to want to do is set the position type from default to sticky, and we're going to leave it at 0%. So what that's going to do is when we scroll to this section, the video is going to stay here, basically. And I think that looks clean. But what we now need to do is with this stack, we need to bring this to the front. Because anytime you change the position to pinned or sticky, sometimes it reorders stuff in your layers panel. So now if we go ahead and preview again, you can see the image or the text is now on top of the video and it looks pretty clean. Great.
So that's one just really long section. You have the video with a nice little overlay up top. And I'm just reiterating everything you probably already said.
Good.
I'm just regurgitating it back for additional clarity, possibly.
For sure. But yeah, we have like this video. It's stuck to the top. And then we have this text element stack that's continuously scrolling. And it's going to just scroll past the section and it looks pretty clean. All right. For the next section, it's going to be a message from the CEO. So let's go ahead and add a section. I think I made this one about 800 in height. And once again, we're going to be using cells. So let's go ahead and add 2 columns here. Now for this one, I believe I added 5% padding on all sides, just like that. So we can press 5 and then press this little lock icon to apply it to all sides. And then
can you show that again? Our cameras are blocking it. 1 second. Can you?
Oh, sure. So if we don't have any padding, this is what it looks like. But with the section selected, we can come over to position and select 5 under padding. And typically this isn't locked, so it's not going to apply it to all sides. So you can just apply it to all sides just by clicking it, just like that.
Nice. That's a nice little time saver. That's totally new. I don't remember that.
Right.
And you're like, it wasn't new, Brandon. Just get it together. Just, it definitely was there. Just please.
That's funny. And then for the gap, I kind of want it to be the same. So let's go ahead and switch this over to VW, which is viewport width. And we can set this to 5 VW. Now, VW, again, is viewport, and it's a percentage of the width from your user's device. Viewport, when we're talking about like a section, is basically the same as percentage. So it works in this case. But if you're using viewport with an element that's nested inside of like a stack or something, this won't really work. It only really works in this instance where the viewport and percentage are kind of the same. I'm not even explaining this very well. But you don't want to use viewport typically unless it's... I'm not really explaining this very well.
That's all good. No, there's no apologies. That we work through the words and we forget. Tech is hard, guys. Listen,
I need some AI right now.
I wish I could be your AI. I am not that sophisticated at the moment.
So when talking about like a section, viewport acts the same as percentage, but you don't want to use viewport if you're trying to make like this text element 100% of the stack, if that makes sense. Viewport is a percentage of your entire screen, whereas percentage is a percentage of whatever its parent element is. So if I set this to 100%, it would take up 100% of this area, similar to like this paragraph. It's taking up 100% of the stack. Whereas if I set this to 100 VW, it would be like off the screen, just because it's referencing the website screen and not the percentage of its parent element. So in this instance down here, its parent element is just the section, which is the screen. So I kind of hope I explained that nicely.
Yeah, perfect.
It might be confusing, and we might need another workshop in the future to explain it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's all good. And listen, guys, this is what the community is about. Like, if you guys have not been in our newsletter, you guys have not been in our Discord community, which again, link down in the description. Mondays are with Ryan. We're doing live stuff. Tuesdays are for we got lost yesterday. Come here in the Discord today. We will unlost you and answer your questions. Wednesdays, kind of the same thing. So we're here all kind of learning together, and that's what we do. All right. Anyways, Ryan, continue. My bad, brother.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. So for this left column, I want to add an image of the CEO. So we'll go ahead and just add this image. We'll stretch it, and then we will round the corners. So we'll set this to 24. That'll be nice. And then for this left-hand side, we're going to have text. So I want to grab this mission statement text element here. Bring this down, paste it in. And I always find like copying and pasting text elements a lot better to do, especially because, and I haven't really done this here in today's workshop, but typically as you're making your website, you're setting your font sizes and your min and max values, and you have your text elements exactly how you want them to be. So to prevent you from having to reset up those settings for every single text element, I always find it easier just to copy and paste. And it's a little bit more time efficient as well. But for this one, let's go ahead and set this, or bring the width out quite a bit. And we'll change this to a message from the CEO. And similar to our little accent that we had over here for the mission statement, we're going to have another one down here. So we'll come over to add, go to decorative, do more basic shapes, and then I forgot what I looked up for this one, but let's try brush again. We also need to search it in the vector art area. And I think it should be in here somewhere. There we go. So this one is called, it's just called circle. So if you want to find that one for yourself, you can find it circle. And then we'll rotate it a little bit. We will resize this. And then we'll place it right over CEO. Make it a little bit bigger. And then in the layers panel, we can move the vector art behind the word CEO. And we can shift click in the layer panel to grab both. We'll right click and we'll place these in a container together. Perfect. Okay. The next thing I want to do is grab, we'll grab this paragraph element here. We'll paste it in. We'll send it to the left and make it a little bit wider. And I'm just going to copy and paste what I put in on the live website. And then we'll make it a little bit lighter with the gray color. And we'll center it here in this column. At the very bottom, we're going to have like the what's called the signature and like her name. So let's go ahead and grab a text element. We'll copy it and then we'll paste it down here. Say Julia and then comma CEO of company. So send it to the left. And then underneath that, I found this little signature element once again here in Wix. So we'll go to decorative, more basic shapes, switch this from basic shapes to vector art, and we'll just type in signature. And once again, I need to spell it right. And we'll just grab this one right here. Let's resize it a little bit and we'll bring it down. And what I want to do is grab both of these. We'll stack them together. Then we'll grab this container up here. These weren't in a container. Interesting. Place these in a container again, and then we'll send it to the top.
And just out of, I think this would be a good thing and a good place to explain this, because one of the things that is always, I think, confusing for people is when do you stack and when do you container?
Okay.
And you can try to keep it short because I know you might be sweating bullets with
No.
time.
You're good. I will say, like, I typically stack when I'm trying to do stuff vertically, and then containers.
Like a group, basically, like a folder. Like, hey, kind of stay together. We might,
I mean,
dock you to things, but we want you kind of be as a collective.
Right. I will say, like, I feel like you can get away with not using containers or using stacks. But I feel like I'm just so used to the editor X way of thinking still. But here, stacks just help group things vertically, and containers can group things sideways. Again, here in Wix Studio, you can now stack things side to side now. So it's not as prominent here in Wix Studio. It's just kind of what I find easiest. But yeah, I'm just going to grab this container, this text element, and then this stack down here and stack these together. And then we'll just center it. Center this whole stack inside of this column. And then for the last section, it's just going to be a very simple call to action. And I'm just going to grab this text element, paste it in here. Join the team.
I like
join
the team.
I button mashed too much. But then we'll just grab simple text and button. And we'll paste these down here as well. Which it didn't seem to grab. Oh, there it is. And let's just grab this, these elements here. We'll grab all three. Oh, there we go. And we'll stack them together. We'll center it, and under layout, we can actually center the items here in the stack. So we don't even have to go to each individual element to center, like the this text element to align to the center. So that's nice. And then we'll just center the stack itself inside of the section. So this is the bare bones of our website. And now it's time to actually start adding the fun effects. What I will say is with this section, there's like 1 pixel up here where you can see the image behind it. And then there's 1 pixel down here. So what I might do is set the height of the section. So we'll use the breadcrumbs, grab the section. You can see that it's set to 722 for some reason. So let's set that to 720. See if that removed it. It looks like it did. Fantastic. We're also going to grab the section, and we're going to set the overflow content from show to hide. Because what we want to do is with this vector art is we want to kind of expand it outside of the section, but we don't want this vector art to cover up other areas of our website. So when we set it to overflow hide, it's going to, if any elements exceed the bounding box of our section, basically, it's going to hide it. Let me grab this real quick. Okay, so for this hero section, what we want to do is with the vector art selected, we're going to head on over to the interactions tab here, and we're going to head on over to scroll. We want to add a scroll interaction, so we'll add one. We want it to go to its design. So right now we have the position exactly where we want it to be in the very end. So we want it to its design. We don't want to switch it to from for this one. And then we're going to select shrink. Now shrink is, since we're going to its design, what we're going to do is set up the pre-scroll design, which is going to be expanded because we want to shrink to where its current position is. So we'll go ahead and press adjust animation. For the scale, I think I set it to like 130. And then for this animation area, let's set this to 40 and then 85. Something like that. And basically this is what it's going to look like. But then as we scroll down, you can see the overlay is starting to come into its place, which is exactly what we want. And to kind of explain the animation area, you can hover over this and it kind of explains it. But 0 is the bottom of your screen and 100% is the top of your screen. So where do we want to start the animation? We want it to start when it's about 40% of the way up. So you can see right here, like at the very top of the screen, we're maybe at like 15%, maybe 20% here. And then if we scroll down, which I just left the animation box here. So let me go back in. But you can see like once we get to about 40% of the way through the screen, the animation is starting to come in. You can see that right there. And then it ends the animation before we fully leave the viewport, which is 85%, which is what we set up here. So that kind of explains the animation area a little bit. And I will say for the animation area, it's sometimes a little bit harder to guess these numbers when you are having like when you're trying to apply this to the first section on your page. It's a little bit easier when you have a little bit more room, like this section down here, where we actually see it enter the viewport, so we know where the 0 is, which is like right here. So it's a little bit easier to do that than it is like for your first section on your page. But now we can go ahead and move on to the next one. For this next one, we are not going to affect the overlay. We want to affect the image itself. And for this one, again, we're going to do a scroll effect. And we want the position of the animations to move from this starting point. We want this to be the starting point, but we don't want it to be the end point. So we're going to set the animation path from its design. And we're going to select expand. Perfect. Now, once again, you can kind of see as I'm scrolling down, the image is peeking out over the section. So that is why we need to select the section. And in the design tab, we need to set the overflow content from show to hide. So now we can grab this image again, go back into the interaction panel. And now when we scroll, you can see that it's no longer showing outside of its bounding box. And for this one, I chose like 150 scale, and I think I did the animation area 0 to 100. So basically what that means is as soon as the section enters the viewport, all the way to when it leaves the viewport, it's basically going to be expanding. Now for this section, we've kind of already done that, which I've already showed you earlier, but it's just going to scroll just like that. And it looks pretty clean. And for this image right here, we are going to, again, add another scroll effect. So we'll add a scroll interaction. We want it to go to its design. So the end point, we want it to be right here. And we're going to select expand. So under the adjust area, we're going to set the scale to 65. And we're going to leave the animation area to 0 to 50 because we want it to be fully complete with its animation by the time we get to the point and we're able to view the entire section. But we want it to kind of have a nice little effect as we scroll to it, just like that. So if we go all the way up to the very top of the website, here is the design. There we go.
Very well done, man. In good time with 10 minutes to spare, dude.
Yeah,
Very
I just
nice.
saw that too.
All planned. All planned. So, first off, again, thank you for being able to do this in such a quick and just like you made it just look so seamless. And I think really why I like these live streams is because seeing somebody's tutorial is one thing, but also kind of seeing somebody think through things where they kind of, I know you say you mess up,
Right.
but it's not even a mess up. It's like, I know I need to go back and redo something, where a tutorial is nice and clean, but this you get to see like, oh, I misdragged here, or oh, I missed this
Right.
piece and I went back, and we still end up with a very clean product. So it's awesome to see the whole process and how nice it looks right now. So I know we've got a few people watching, and I think Manuel, you were asking about the difference between Editor X and whatchamacallit, and Wix Studio. But since we have about 8 minutes left, I want to kind of leave the door open for any questions that you guys have here. If you guys don't have any, fine. If you have some later tomorrow, you guys know where to come to Wix Studio Town Hall in our Discord, which I actually think that also will be live on. We have a guest tomorrow. It will be live on YouTube again, same time, same place. But do we have any questions in the chat? I know you guys are around like 25 seconds behind, so I guess we're gonna give you guys a little bit of a second to catch up. But Ryan, you did an amazing job, man. From the design, the sharing some of the workflows that kind of gave me some things, enlightened me. And I know that we're going to be able to, the fact that we have this recorded, we're going to be able to put timestamps behind it, and also produce clips and things from this, where you went into detail as to why you did certain things versus other things. I think is going to be very important for our community and the other people who are using Wix Studio, my man.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. While we're waiting on you guys, Ryan, can you give us a little bit of a first off, if you haven't already, Ryan's links are down in the description. You definitely should follow his content if you haven't already, because he does his own stuff on his own time as well, and we don't get all of his time all week. So when you're not here on Mondays, go and check out the rest of his stuff and the amazing things that he does.
Absolutely.
Can you give us a little bit of a teaser for what we got next week, or is that no, we want to hold that for next week?
Let's see.
Oh, I meant verbally. If you actually have it, that's
verbally,
actually crazy.
okay.
If you have it, cool. But if
I'll pull it up. It's not official yet for like the design
Which is
wise.
not official.
But
This is the unofficial official.
The unofficial
disclosure.
The unofficial. But the idea is we're gonna have kind of still be using the scroll interactions that we were using in this video.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have it change the background color of our website as we scroll. Sorry, it's taking a second.
It wants to remain a secret. I think. Oh, there we go. All right, there we go.
So let me preview real quick, and then oh, there we go. Oop. And then as we scroll, it's really slow for me, but the background color changes as we scroll. But this is not the official design. It might be changed by next week.
It's all good. Even that, just that piece alone was really awesome. All right, guys. Well, I do not see any questions in the chat as of now, but listen, I already know I'm going to get them tomorrow. So I guess I'll see them tomorrow. We'll get in the swing of things. This is the first day. Tomorrow, we know we're going to get inundated because you guys try to keep us in chat for 3 hours. So I'll wait till then. But remember, every Monday, 1 p.m. EST, guys, come here to learn from Ryan, to chat with us, to laugh and learn, and follow along in building the cool stuff that Ryan puts together with us and for us. With that said, Ryan, do you have any closing remarks, things you would love to share with the peeps? Direct them. Any final words, my friend?
You can feel free to follow us on the channel or on the Wix Fix channel, and I appreciate everyone for watching and hanging out, and I hope you join us for next week's Make It Monday.
Exactly. Can't say it any better myself. Well, Ryan, thank you again. And Nina, Funky Waffle, we had Chris, we had Manuel, and really just everybody else that kind of came out. Man, we had some old peeps coming we haven't seen in a really long time. We had Ash, and we also had Keisho. Thank you guys for hanging out, and I hope to see more of you guys next Monday. All right, thanks for coming out to Make It Monday, the first of many, and we'll see you next week. Don't forget to join our Discord. We'll see you soon. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.